a little bit earlier, Luke, you were talking about the supply chain, and you were saying that there's some issues there holding up developments. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, there's an extreme shortage at the moment in Australia in general for steel and timber. I think September we hit the peak of a shortage. So this is a flow-on effect onto a lot of commercial and residential building projects around the country. It has slowed down projects in line too with COVID, with all the restrictions with having labour on site. So a lot of these claims that would have been put in by builders have had to been slowed down, and work hasn't been able to be completed to time frame. So then you've got liquidated damages and LTIs coming in place as well. So it's a big flow-on effect, and that's going right from the top to the developer, right down to the tradesman on the ground. Everyone's feeling the impact of that. Fortunately, I believe we're coming out of it now with our supply. September was probably the hardest hit. October, we're due to increase our production, and we're going to have more access to materials. I guess from a building perspective, on a lot of these development sites and project sites now, is getting the labour back on site. I mean, we've seen footage of what's been happening in Victoria, and it's been absolutely devastating for the industry down here, not being able to get tradesmen to site, and then the flow on from that. The impact that it can have on a lot of these businesses is substantial. It's not just the time out on site. It's the back office. It's the planning. It's the programming. It's the estimating that goes into all this work. And these stop-start delays are definitely impacting a lot of people in the market.
One of your other specialties is healthcare, you were saying. So, what are the dynamics there? What's going on in that sector?
Yeah, healthcare is, in terms of sales, again, that's the yield compression that we've seen in healthcare in probably the last couple of years is, you would probably see it compress around 100 basis points, 1%. And the reason being is that there's a lot of new funds coming into that sector driving prices, funds that are looking to list. You may have seen in the news, HomeCo have listed HealthCo. They are, a client that we work with and try to source them opportunities. But that's a prime example of someone with a lot of capital needing and wanting to buy these healthcare assets, and they're paying some very big prices. Centuria Heathley are another group that are out there and quite aggressive at the moment. So there's just a lot of activity from the larger groups wanting to acquire. And then again, from your mum and dad investors, probably similar to childcare, they see healthcare as an essential service asset class, something where, they're happy to tip their money into, knowing that you're always going to need a doctor, you're always going to need a dentist, you're always going to potentially need a childcare centre, and that just gives investors a lot of confidence. From an operator's perspective, healthcare is not as active as childcare at the moment. There's probably not that many groups that are looking to really expand and open new locations, and the reason being is that getting the doctors is very difficult. So it's extremely hard to attract these doctors, and at the moment, obviously, they can't bring them in from overseas. So that's putting a hold to a lot of these healthcare groups wanting to open up new locations. So that's putting a hold on that sector.